It was discovered at about 11 a.m. this morning first, just south of Newman, and the Commissioner will provide further detail on exactly how it was found and where the capsule was found. But it was found by a team from the Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organisation and DFES, also supported by the Department of Health. The agencies involved in the operation are now arranging for the safe transport of the capsule. I do want to emphasise this is an extraordinary result by Western Australians and Australians, and it is a great result for Western Australians in general. The Department of Fire and Emergency Services has led a relentless search over the past 6 days. Their investigation led to the rapid establishment of a search and a search area, and today's result has vindicated that work. When you consider the scope of the research area, locating this object was a monumental challenge. The search groups have quite literally found the needle in the haystack. It once again highlights the extraordinary capabilities of our emergency services in Western Australia, and of course they have been challenged over the past few weeks with a variety of fires and floods. Now, I do want to thank everybody at the Department of Fire and Emergency Services, but also those other agencies, and so the Department of Health, Police, and of course the ADF, who will also help with transporting the capsule back to the metro area. It has been a busy start to the year, but they have done a tremendous job. I would again say thank you to the other state and Commonwealth agencies who contributed to the search for their expertise, but also their equipment has been vital. The Chief Health Officer and Chair of the Western Australian Radiation Council, Andrew Robertson, has launched an investigation into a reported missing radioactive source. That investigation is far from over. The final report will be given to the Minister for Health, and from there we will review the next steps in the process. I will now hand over to Commissioner Klemm, but I do want to also acknowledge the support we've received from Rio Tinto in particular. Their CEO, Simon Trott, reached out to me early last week and again today, and they've offered every support that we've needed to undertake this activity. But it's a good result, as I've said. It's certainly a needle in a haystack that has been found, and I think Western Australians can sleep better tonight.
Thanks, Minister. At 13 minutes past 11 this morning, we successfully retrieved the radioactive capsule after searching hundreds of kilometres in the outback and in the metro area over the last 6 days. The capsule was located just south of Newman on the Great Northern Highway. It was 2 metres from the side of the road. The vehicle that identified it was travelling at 70 kilometres per hour when the specialist detection equipment picked up radiation emitted by the missing capsule. The search team then used portable detection equipment to locate the capsule. The Australian Defence Force is currently verifying the capsule using its serial number. A 20-metre hot zone has been set up around the capsule, and it will be placed into a lead container to shield from radiation. It will be stored at a secure location near Newman tonight before being transported to a WA health facility in Perth tomorrow. Once the capsule has been secured, we will survey the site to ensure there is no contamination in the surrounding area. In the extremely unlikely circumstance that the capsule leaked, we will remediate the area. This outcome is thanks to the exhaustive work done by DFES, the Department of Health and Western Australia Police, as well as other agencies over the past week. I would like to thank everybody involved in the comprehensive work and dedication to recovering this capsule. Agencies that have been essential to the operation have been the Australian Defence Force, the National Emergency Management Agency, the Australian Nuclear and Science Technology Organisation, and the Australian Radiation Protection and Nuclear Safety Agency. I'll now hand over to the Chief Health Officer. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to also acknowledge the great cooperation we've had from both state and Commonwealth agencies to ensure that we've found the source. This was a very much a tiny source that, whilst difficult to find, did pose a significant public health risk. And it is great news that we have found that source in such a rapid period of time. As indicated, the investigation into the loss of that source is ongoing. Under the Radiation Safety Act, I have responsibility as the Chair of the Radiological Council to actually investigate and, if required, prosecute offences under the Act. We have a number of authorised officers who are doing that. So our Radiation Health branch within the Department of Health is conducting that investigation, and they will be looking at all aspects of this particular event, including the preparation of the gauge for movement, obviously the transport of the gauge, its receipt, the notification of the department, and any other measures taken to make sure that the gauge was managed appropriately. Generally, so we will continue to provide this. This will take a number of weeks for us to finalise our report. We are working closely with a number of agencies, including obviously the Department of Fire and Emergency Services and West Australian Police, and we will prepare a report for the Minister on the completion of that investigation. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Are you aware of anyone who's been harmed in any way by this capsule in the time it's been lost?
We're not aware of any injuries to anybody, any community member. It does not appear to have moved. It appears to have fallen off the truck and landed on the side of the road. It is remote enough that it's not in any major community, so it is unlikely that anybody has been exposed to the capsule.
How far from the mine site was it actually found?
It's some way south of Newman.
Do you have a rough idea of how many kilometres from where the truck had set off?
We can find that detailed out for you.
Does this support, and its early stages, but support the hypothesis that something on the back of the truck broke or hit a bump in the road or something ruptured leading to the capsule being lost, or potentially was it not secured correctly?
So all of those aspects will be investigated further. Obviously, it has come off the back of the truck, and we're aware that it came out from the gauge that it was protecting it. We're currently continuing to investigate how that actually happened, as if it is appropriately prepared under the regulations, then it should be more than adequate to prevent this happening.
Do you have a rough time frame for the investigation? You're looking at weeks or months?
It will take us at least a few weeks to do that investigation, because we will need to talk to a number of parties, including any manufacturers.
It's actually made a hot zone from where the capsule was found. How will that be managed or monitored?
So it is unlikely that there will be contamination in the area. Remembering this is a very solid source with it's encased. It's a ceramic source, so it's very hard. It doesn't break up. It's encased in stainless steel, so it's unlikely that unless there's been substantial damage to the actual source itself, which is unlikely from a fall from the back of a truck, that there will be any contamination in the area. If there is contamination, obviously we will manage that.
Will there be severe consequences, or there will just be another slap at the wrist approach after the investigation?
We have obviously ability to prosecute under the Radiation Safety Act, and we will certainly look at such prosecutions, and we've done that in the past. If people remember the 2006 incident, the Radiological Council did prosecute the people who lost that source back in 2006.
How remarkable is it that it's been found?
It's very remarkable, I suppose. Look, I think we all, felt that this was a very long piece of highway and that it was going to be challenging to find it. But look, I think it reflects very well on all of the teams that were involved, that really did take the measures and the use of their specialised equipment to find, the needle in the haystack.
Is there any insight into maybe what the reaction of the workers who found this item on the side of the road was?
You may want to ask that to Commissioner Klemm, but I know what the reaction was within our department, and everybody was very elated. So I anticipated it would be probably very similar.
It was found a relatively short distance into the trip from this mine site, does that suggest that the gauge wasn't appropriately packed and the box that it was in was not up to scratch? It's obviously come apart very quickly.
So it was relatively soon after the journey had begun, so we will be investigating that further.
How essential was that specialist equipment in finding it 2 metres from the side of the road? Would it have been found otherwise?
It certainly sped up the process, so we were able to find it a lot quickly. You know, as Commissioner Klemm was saying, they were travelling at 70 kilometres an hour. We had done some preliminary ones in the metropolitan area at a lot lower speed, so we were able to identify rapidly at a reasonable speed, and that's really enabled us to bring this to a conclusion in really 7 days from being notified.
Any other questions for the Minister or the Commissioner?
Definitely the Commissioner. Yep. Just a question I asked before, Commissioner, but the workers who are out there, can you give us an idea on what they felt and how they reacted when they found that needle?
Oh, look, you can only imagine. It's a pretty lonely stretch of road from Newman down to Perth. A lot of work went into around the metro area based on some intelligence early on, and great work by WA Police to get that. So you can't help but imagine there was an element of surprise for the people in the car when the equipment did spike up. So look, it's certainly in terms of where it is, it's in the best possible outcome in terms of the space that it's been found. There's been much discussion, certainly at DFS, and I know I've spoken to Andy a lot on the phone in the last week. You know, just working through the possible outcome that we wouldn't find it. You know, and I think given that it could have been anywhere from the metro area to the mine site, where it's been found is possibly the best possible area, and to do it in such a short period of time is simply amazing. For coming together a whole range of different agencies, state and federal, is outstanding.
So give us an idea maybe how long you were preparing to be in this flood to try and find a flaw?
Yeah, well, that's the basis of the discussions we've been having. At what point do you stop looking for it? Look, there's been so much assistance offered, all the way from aircraft to do surveillance down to the equipment that we've used in the vehicles, and you all saw the vision of firefighters on the road out on Tonkin Highway over the weekend. So, I think there was a sense we were always going to find it. It's just exactly how long, and the worst possible outcome is we're still going to be here in 12 months' time looking for something on such a significantly, in some places, really remote stretch of road.
Are you able to say how far from the mine site it was found?
No, not at this point. It is south of Newman. Look, I think it'd be fair to say that it in terms of where it's been found, it is closer to the mine site than it is to Perth.
How far from Newman? Are you able to say?
No, it's just south of Newman. Yeah.
So there were two pieces of equipment used, one to detect the radiation, another one to find the actual capsule. Is that it?
Yeah. So exactly right. It detects the radiation, and then you really fine tune it in with the handheld. Yeah.
And the one that was on the back of the truck, with the bigger piece of equipment that initially detected it, was that supplied by the Commonwealth government?
Yes. Yeah, it is through ANSO.
And when did that arrive?
I think what's today? Wednesday. I'm pretty sure it was in state on Monday. Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think they arrived into Newman Monday night or during Tuesday to commence work. So, they've set off from Newman or the mine site, which is not too far away, and found it in pretty short order. But we had crews working up. They worked through from Perth to Woburn on Monday, and then Woburn through to Meekatharra. So the crews have been coming up from the bottom and down from the top. Yep.
Any questions for the Minister, anybody?
Minister, today, colleague Emma Jade Sanderson flagged the possibility of increased penalties under the Act, or amendments to the Act that might see increased penalties. One, is that definitely on the table now that we've found it? And two, is it there in any way retroactively applicable in a case like this?
Sure. So there's no opportunity to have anything retroactive, but certainly there has been work underway prior to this event to update the Act, and I'm told that the Minister had previously been in discussion with the Chief Health Officer about updating things like penalties in the Act.
So,
obviously, though, in terms of where to from here or who's responsible, that work needs to take place, and as the Chief Health Officer said, that'll happen over the next few weeks.
I understand it's a hypothetical situation, but given that close conversations and things are being put in place prior to it being lost, is there an opportunity, should somebody be found responsible, they would face an increased penalty than what is currently under the Act?
Yeah, I don't deal in hypotheticals, Ben, so let's wait and see. The investigation is ongoing, and the work separately to update the Act is ongoing too.
Do you have any idea how much this has cost the state government, the search?
No, we don't. But look, over the last few days, we've probably had about 100 personnel involved in the search. So that includes career and volunteer firefighters. It includes WA Police. It includes people from the Health Department. And of course, over the last 2 days in particular, it includes people from the ADF and ANSTO. So lots of help, as the Commissioner said. Very grateful for the collaboration between all the government agencies, both state and Commonwealth, and it's a good outcome at the end of the day.
Will you attempt to recover any of the costs from Rio or the various contractors that are involved? Is it just not possible?
Well, look, let's wait and see what happens with the investigation as to who we can apportion blame to. But certainly, I do want to state again, Rio Tinto have been exceptional in terms of how they reached out to us, offered all levels of support. So I'm very grateful to that offer and to Simon Trott.
Do you think that people may be found accountable for this? Should they go to jail or should they face a huge fine for this kind of mistake?
Well, obviously we have laws in place in Western Australia, and so the laws that are in place will be used. So I'm not going to make any comment as to or predetermine what the outcome of any investigation might be.
Just on another issue, Jess Anderson today said that she's personally in support of a voice to Parliament at a state level in Western Australia. Do you support that?
Absolutely, but certainly I'm supportive of listening to Aboriginal people in Western Australia as to what kind of structures, what kind of representative structures we should have in place going forward. I think as a priority, though, we do need to have a voice nationally, and Western Australians and indeed Australians will get a chance to vote on that later this year. Certainly from my constituency in the northwest, I've heard loudly and clearly from Aboriginal leaders that they want a voice, and then whatever happens with the voice, we can work in any state process around that. Great, thanks everybody.
Thank you.